Directors here at Coastside County Water District. The date is Tuesday, March 12th. And thank you very much. Roll call, please.
So, Director Coghill,
Affirmative.
Director Feldman,
Yes.
Director Muller,
Here.
Vice President Reynolds. Okay, I believe he's going to be late, and President Michelson.
Does that mean I'm president? Does that mean he gets docked?
I've got a theory. Sorry.
Okay, Ken, you can lead.
Let me see if I can remember. Pledge allegiance.
To the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all humans. Yes, we didn't take a knee here. Yeah. No, oh my God.
We never take it.
Never. Okay, thank you, and
Switch.
oh yeah, thanks. Do we have any public comment? I've seen maybe one
There's
or two,
somebody, yeah, there's somebody
one or two
coming,
members of.
trying to connect.
So
Oh, coming in online.
coming in online, I see a picture. We recognize who that is?
Where?
Connecting to audio. Okay, we can move on. If the person really wants to speak, I will allow them to speak. But in the meantime, let's move on to consent calendar.
She's on.
Does she have a hand raised or?
No.
Okay,
Oh, Vinny, you want to ask her to public comment again?
Carrie, are you, do you have audio?
No, her mic's mute, so it's not.
No. Okay,
She's not.
We can't, she can't. We have it set where she can't.
I can ask her to
She has
unmute.
Yeah.
or do they have the hand raise option? Yeah.
Hey,
yes,
Very nice.
Welcome.
Injured reserve.
Permission to land arrested. Okay, you're walking.
I'm walking. Really exciting.
Okay, so we did,
Oh, she just
we're at
muted.
public comment,
Okay.
and so if there's no public comment, we can move on. And
Yeah, great.
she's always welcome to raise her hand.
Yes. Thank you. And so moving on to consent calendar, and looks like Dr. Coverdale, reviewed the claims, and someone from our finance subcommittee, so I'm sure you did a thorough job.
Yeah, in fact, I made a couple comments. I didn't get any response.
Oh,
But they were kind of out there a little. Everything looked fine to me, and I think, the reason that whole process started was North Coast had a problem about 30 years ago, huge problem. And there was actually money missing. And that's what started us watching. And so I really appreciate the quality and integrity and carefulness with which it's done. And I found everything to be in order.
no, and I do like seeing where the money goes. So for me, as long as I've been here, it's still, okay, we have a new vendor, and these are expenses, and this is how much PG&E is costing, in current dollars. And so it is, I think it's great for all of us. Yeah. For the public, it can hit 50,000, 35 to 50,000 range. So we too are suffering this.
And the other big one that I watch is the San Francisco water bill.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
our customers forget
Yeah.
that we're writing enormous checks every month.
Yeah, no, good point. We too get a water bill, so we do feel your pain. Anyhow, thank you. Lisa, please.
You need a motion.
Motion, yeah.
I move we approve the consent calendar.
Okay, there we go.
I'd like to second that.
Okay, now Lisa,
Yeah.
you can do a roll call.
Okay, Director Coverdale,
Aye.
Director Feldman,
Aye.
Director Muller,
Hi.
Vice President Reynolds,
Aye.
and President Michelson.
Hi, thank you. Okay, meetings attended, director comment.
Hi.
I gotta tell you, the wildest water report I've ever made is this one, because we were at 80%. And I think I talked about it last meeting, and we had a storm, this crazy storm, right? And all of a sudden, we're at 102% water content in the snowpack. So it's really good news, and I'm sure everybody saw the report from the manager of the SFPUC of our water condition, and it looks great. I can also tell you there's the weirdest snow I've ever seen because it came in as powder. And typically it's quite light and dry up at, 9,000 feet, 10,000 feet. This snow must be full of water because it came in, it got blown, and it absolutely just won't. So instead of being this like 6 to 10 feet that everyone was talking about, 2 days into it, it was like 3 feet deep.
But very
But
compact.
the denseness of the snow it's the wildest snow I've ever seen. So all these people came up, oh, we're gonna powder ski, and we're like, cool. I'd fly to Utah like as fast as I can, or maybe Wyoming. But anyway, so my report is that I have been up doing snow research, and we're really getting in great conditions. Wonderful.
Good, good. Thank you. Len?
Yeah, Monday I got briefed on the direction the state and feds are moving on PFAS and manganese. And I've been given a heads up about 10 years ago that manganese was on the radar. And so manganese levels will be coming out significantly lower with neurological health effects associated with them. And apparently that track has been sidelined by the PFAS regulations, and they're working aggressively to put 3 PFAS items out there. That's the bad news. The good news is that there's been now a 2-year case study with 50 times the limit on PFAS. And the treatments work really, really well. And it's not super expensive. And this is the very first in probably 8 to 10 years that I've monitored PFAS and been aware of it. This is the first study that I've been able to follow on successful, cost-effective treatment. And it's really a game changer, and it's really important to everybody in North America who drinks water. The part that was really interesting is the EPA and the science groups are still working very hard on the containment and other issues around it. And I should be really clear that the data is not concrete on the direct health effects and limits, and drinking water is not the primary focus of exposure. I'm sorry to say that pretty much everybody at the conference I was at went home and threw away their Teflon cookware. PFAS is in Scotchgard is kind of a can of PFAS in its best form. That's its liquid PFAS.
Wow.
And then you get it. Apparently, I was really thrilled to hear it's been taken out of kids' clothing. It was used as a flame retardant for decades. And so it's been stripped out of that, which was wonderful news. But it's still used on waterproof coatings and stain resistant coatings and Teflon cookware. The other one that affects this water district, which is really good news, and so I'm really excited to tell everybody, is that pipe is connected with Teflon tape. And there was concern in individuals about that, and it does not transfer to the drinking water.
Wow.
And that was a real hallelujah, because it's been something that we've been worried about, and it's not a worry. And so I know I've bugged James about it. So I wanted you to know that I specifically dug into that one. And the answer was absolutely no risk, not on the radar, not a worry. And just so the public understands, Teflon tape isn't used much by the water district as a big deal. It's used by the plumbers.
Yeah.
But we do some plumbing, and so we own it and use it. But this has been a concern, but great news. It's, whenever we watch an emerging contaminant, I think it's really important that our community, our team, pay attention and be involved. And there was more good news in this seminar than bad news. And so I wanted the team to know that's what I learned. So obviously I'm interested, and I'll keep paying attention, and I'll keep giving you updates. Normally, the regulatory update process takes 3 years. Often 5 years. They'll give you a 2-year warning once they've rolled the rule out, 2 years to implement it, and then a year to get your act together. And there were a lot of questions, when this rolls out, how fast will it be? Will it be faster than that? And the folks the scientists there were feeling pretty strongly that there would not be anything faster than the normal fast track on it. And that's good news, because if they roll out a reg and we have to spend money, we want to know that. As James has talked about in the past, primarily where this will happen will start with testing. And it turns out testing is just complicated. It's not just expensive, but test samples get contaminated by things like people's shampoo and sunscreen. And so that makes the sampling protocol really challenging. And there's no point in having testing if the quality, the data is no good. So they're being very cautious to try and set a protocol that we can all follow and we can all have good results with. So it's a lot to give you, but
So all of this emphasis on PFAS
mhm,
and the health concerns related to PFAS.
yeah.
What about processed foods? What about Coca-Cola? What about all the other crap we put into our body? This is hypocrisy at
Yeah.
its finest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Diabetes does kill,
Yeah.
currently kills
Yeah.
far more people than PFAS would ever kill in a million lifetimes.
Yeah.
And yet, who is going to bear the cost of this? This district, our customers.
I think though, Chris, one of the things to remember is that PFAS was manufactured by a very discrete group of manufacturers. And those guys.
And we should go out, absolutely. I've said that in
wouldn't
prior
ever
meetings.
want to say, hey, you broke your tanker truck in the middle of Main
Yeah.
Street, that's okay, go away.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I feel sort of comforted that they actually have a group that they can say, hey, DuPont, you did this, hey, Dow, you did this. And they're not hiding.
The problem is like, well, we should stop now, but it's not the first thing that they've done. They have a long history anyhow. So thank you for reporting that, but it's another layer of expense for running a water district as we go into the rate season.
The difference between this PFAS and the government and the way that it's been rolled out is that's done and it's spread worldwide, where people have no control.
Yep.
If we know these other things are problems, stop drinking Coca-Cola. And we can stop doing the things that may be harmful to us, but this is something people have no control over, and that's, I think,
I wish
with some regulation is
I totally
required.
get
No, I'm
that.
just trying to.
I wish the government was, if they're gonna go.
No, I understand.
Let's.
There are many things that could be regulated. I understand.
Bob, what I really want the public to know is that Coastside County Water District is paying a lot of
Oh,
attention.
absolutely.
No, we
And
appreciate your
we're
staying
in
on
the
top of
room.
this.
That's good.
We're paying attention, we're at the cutting edge of the
Right.
research. And I think that the public of Coastside County Water District should be very proud
Right.
that the
Oh, that's what you-
attention is there and being focused on an emerging problem.
Keeping our eye on the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Good.
just
Okay.
glad we don't have to go back to Rector Seal. If anybody here has ever done any.
Oh, I've got
plumbing,
stains on my shoes from the dark stuff.
Okay, John.
we
Yeah,
can still use drop lines.
Meetings attended, Director Feldman and myself met with staff on February 22nd, and this is the packet we reviewed. Took a while, but we did a great job. Thank you, staff, for kicking us off on this one here. And we're going to put this
aside for now. And then the next day on the 23rd, I went down to Pajaro Water District in Watsonville for an Aqua Region 5 meeting. And part of the meeting, we spent a lot of time on rules and regulations for Region 5 and Aqua. It was quite a update there. And one of the things that's been really highlighted, and I know we contributed to it, is the Aqua Foundation that's out there now. And it's it's about people and water, and it was established in 2022 to create, recruit, and retain future workforces. And they've given out almost 50 scholarships for the foundation from Aqua, $1,000 a pop. So it was quite good. And then we had a whole rules and regulations. And then in Region 5, there's 11 districts involved in Region 5, pretty big district, right? Patrick, but anyhow, that was my meeting on the 23rd, and Director Bellman was with me on that other meeting.
We had a finance committee session to talk the budget, which we'll be talking more about later, so I won't get into that.
Yeah, no,
A lot more about that. But we did have that.
Okay, good. Thank you. So on to general business. Mary, you're gonna take the first item?
Well, I'm gonna start. So around March of every year, we begin preparing a draft of our operations and maintenance budget and our capital improvement program planning. And we did, as we said, we met with the facilities committee in February, and also met with the finance committee on Monday to kick off this process. So what we will be doing in terms of the process is we will be asking for your approval of these plans at the June board meeting. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Jeff, who will be taking you through the budget.
Thank you, Mary. As you all know, Mary understands this stuff like the back of her hand, so I appreciate the chance to present it. We're going to walk through a presentation, a copy of which greeted you when you sat down tonight. Our thought is that it will facilitate our conversation tonight and complement the staff report that you received on Friday from us. The data in here are not new. They're just summarized and conveniently so that we can put it up on the screen. The staff report does contain some schedules that you will not see overhead tonight because they're very detailed. The calendar, the timeline of events, and the account level view of the O&M budget that is in your staff report, but we won't display it tonight. But certainly we can talk about it, as well the 10-year CIP plan by project. We won't replicate that on the screens, but you have it in your staff report. So with that, I'll launch into the presentation. So can we migrate to the first schedule, Lisa? Thank you. So this schedule is in your staff report. It is a summary of our draft O&M budget in comparison to the budget that was approved by you folks back in June for this current fiscal year. So there are several elements to this that we'd like to emphasize. The first is that the draft budget has yet to reflect any rate assumption for the upcoming fiscal year. We're still in the midst of the study. You folks haven't had a proposal put in front of you to approve anything yet. So the draft budget does not reflect any rate change in the next January. Second, there's a note related to the approved budget, the water volume in terms of millions of gallons. The approved budget is at 506 million gallons. The current forecast that Mary and our team have generated is at 489 million gallons. And so while this schedule indicates a 2.8% increase versus the current year, we feel it's more realistic to suggest that it's more like a 6.3% increase versus the current year activity. And there's another schedule that we'll get to in a moment that outlines the details, the projections for water sales in millions of gallons by customer class. There are several underlying assumptions that we mentioned in the staff report that I'd like to mention very, very quickly here. The non-operating revenue number is growing at 14.8%. The primary driver of this is interest that we're assuming that's coming from our LAIF investments. We're assuming 3.5% interest and on average about $7 million in cash balance, and that's where the increase is coming from. The budget this year was $90,000, and we're now projecting $245,000 in next year's budget. So that's the biggest piece of that pie, plus some growth in property taxes, and the ERAP monies amounts to $90,000, and then there's some other changes, modest ones. So that's why that non-operating revenue is growing as much as it is versus the current year budget. In the operating expense line, we have several key assumptions. One is no longer an assumption, it's confirmed, and that is the rate for our water purchases from SFPUC. It'll grow by 6.5%. and taking us to $5.55 a unit. And that's the gross price. And then we still get our discount for treated water of 38 cents a unit. So that is baked into this budget. As well, we've assumed a 15% increase in PG&E costs, and we're working with our PG&E rep to get some confirmation on those rates. And 15% as well on health benefits. That's currently our working assumption, also 15% for liability insurance. And then the other accounts for the most part have a baked in inflation rate of about 5% in cost. Not many changes in terms of material content for those other accounts. On the subject of personnel, the numbers you see here reflect a 2.25% COLA and step increases for 13 employees. But we just learned this morning, the Bureau of Labor Statistics put out their information, and the COLA, instead of 2.25, we now have confirmed it's going to be 2.93%. So the delta is about 23 grand for the year.
Wow.
So it's not what we thought.
No.
Okay, well, that'll solve that problem.
Yeah, we just learned about this. They just put it out today.
This morning.
Yeah. Other than that, we have talked off and on in the CIP. This is about potentially financing the Carter Hill project, tank project. We don't have any debt service cost baked into this plan at the moment. That's not, it's too preliminary, and you folks will make that decision after we get through the study with water resource economics on the rate plan and the financial plan there. So no increase in the debt service number associated with the potential financing of the Carter Hill project. So if we could, keep going, but please interrupt me at any time with questions or comments about this or the material in the staff report. This trend of sales by class, we wanted to display this to give you a sense of where the forecast came from for water sales for fiscal year 24-25, the draft budget. You folks know this better than I, but you can see the evidence of the impact of the drought on residential use, on irrigation, both residential and non-residential. And also we have the other situation, quote unquote, with respect to agriculture and the decline in activity there. So those are really the highlights of the pattern that we see in usage over this 5-year period. It's all right. So with respect to the operating budget, that's the extent of our presentation. Again, welcome your questions. On CIP, this summary table, a form of it is in your staff report, but what we've done for tonight is to add to our view. We've added the first 5 years of our CIP plan in the column next to the blue line, to the left of the blue line. The rest of the schedule was in your staff report. The 10-year plan And the primary focus has been on the comparison of the 10-year plan that is currently envisioned by staff and the approved plan that you folks approved back in June for the 10-year period ended 2032-33. The main difference down at the bottom is a $2 million reduction, and the primary reason for that is the fact that we've effectively completed this year the treatment plant project at a roughly $1.7 million. So that is the primary reason for the reduction in the number. The other thing that we've done compared to what's in your staff report is added a simple calculation of the average CIP spend for the first 5 years of the plan down at the bottom. It's 6.425 million on average, the annual spend for the first 5 years of the plan. And for the entirety of the 10-year plan, it's 6.9 million. So those figures will come in handy when we start talking about the results of our operating plan and how we would finance CIP. Next one. These are our key projects, as you well know, for the next 2 years. And what we did here is just to outline them and also represent how we would finance them. So for the fiscal year 24-25, the total spend is currently planned at 11.25 million. What we're suggesting at the bottom is how we finance. Not suggesting it's an outline of how we will finance it. 3.25 million would come from our operating results, and this 3,250,000 is coming from the first schedule we looked at. That's what we're assuming the operation is going to throw off for the coming fiscal year. The rest will have to come from reserves and/or financing. So this is give you a sense of order of magnitude of the CIP plan versus what the business throws off. So I'm racing through this in the interest of time, but that's it for what we wanted to present tonight.
If I may add,
Please.
we are, again, working with water resource economics. You remember Sanjay Gar on a rate study, and these numbers are going into the rate study. We will be having a workshop late April, early May with the full board to go through the financial model, and that will show the financing opportunities, and so that's coming. Yeah. But these are the assumptions that are embedded into our into the rate study right now.
So, Mr. President, we had a finance committee meeting, and we began the discussion.
Right, so we have some insight into this in advance.
And we started to look
right
at, all the different features. And the initial report that we got, which is exciting, is that we're kind of on balance, with the exception of the fact that if we are able to get permitting and we are able to spend the money that we anticipate spending, especially in the capital improvement program, we have to really talk about rate increases, and we have to talk about financing.
Yeah, well, I'm still digesting this 24-25, 11 million.
Yeah. We wanted to see what the reaction was before.
Yeah, so that's
anything.
hence the silence here. Development factor.
Yes.
No way in hell we're gonna spend this 11.
Were you in that meeting? I knew you were standing outside.
Yeah.
You heard us.
No, I just been here long enough to know that.
You heard us.
It ain't happening.
Oh, you heard that?
But if I may say, these projects are closer to reality now.
I see we're 100% on the design up for the tank project, and
when we have the CDP X for the tank project, which is good.
Right.
So we've gone through all the stepping. Stepping stones.
We want to commend
So what's
the
the multiple?
facilities committee for their work in
I'll
establishing a
commend
good
you
layout
if
of
you
the
give me a
project.
Feldman factor multiplier.
We
What
even
is
saw 2 million reduction in the facilities expenditure, so we were very positive. However,
At least you're honest.
notwithstanding that, we think that at least there should be some more sort of review of that number in some way. You know, we understand that the team is ready to jump in and do whatever it takes to meet this objective. However, we just haven't ever experienced that kind of ability to pull this off. So we want to do this. We want to make this happen. We just think it needs to be looked at a little bit more in depth to make sure that it's something that we can achieve, because that's a big number.
So what is your best guess as to what the Feldman factor is?
Well, you know, we had 8 mil this year and we're going to do 5. And we haven't ever done more than 6. I don't think.
But we have had a shift. We had like our Highway 92 project. That's the big.
No, we have a lot of stuff, the Highway 90.
Yeah.
We understand, you've got all the right things. It's just the timing may be needing to be looked at a little bit. And if we're lucky, we might get to 8 somehow. If we really worked hard and the weather was good and all the things fell in place and all the permits got done on schedule. And so that's what we're asking, is maybe a little more harder, a little tougher look into that number to see if there's any way to rethink it.
Yeah, I just laminate one little bit. So a suggestion was that in the capital improvement plan, which I think is a wonderful job, we thought maybe it would be really good if each one of those categories had sort of a planning permitting, deal. And then a build deal.
A little explosion.
Because what happens to us, and has happened for a long time, is we get all in a heat to do it. And then we encounter the city. And then suddenly the county comes in. And then,
Or supply chain.
at all these places. And there's no control. There's no way to schedule that timing. So what we talked about, a new feature of the Feldman factor is called the hiccup. Where we put it right into position and then we hiccup, and it takes another year. So things start to spread out a little. And what we did discuss that I think is important is the idea that we have more than enough capacity to get financing, and we can do it probably 3 to 6 months. So the hiccup might want to be a 1-year hiccup or a 6-month hiccup, but yeah, I mean, you quoted verbatim.
No, we're waiting for comments because it just hits you right in, it hits you right in the gut. It's not, we're not criticizing anybody. We know the professional efforts and we wanted to do this thing. It's just hard to grasp it, basically, in my view. And we had talked about exploding the key things into a little bit more detail like we do with the lower items in the operations budget and see how it really stacks up and maybe make a little better guesstimate. That's all we're asking. I mean, that's before we go into this. This means rate increases. This means debt accumulation, because that's what it means when you put numbers like this at the front end of things. We know it has impact at the end, at that reserve line on the top of the chart. And we want to make sure that it's done well so that we don't go overboard with either rates or debt service or additional debt, things like that.
Well, I like the overboard comment on debt service, because that does concern me. But no, I do thank you both. That's the one subcommittee in my 22 years I've never been on, and I don't want to be on it because it's down and dirty. So thank you both for your expertise and your thorough analysis. And Glenn, what would you like to add to this?
So there's a couple of things that this board pays a lot of attention to. And the Feldman factor is big. And for those listening, what we're talking about is budgeting for a project that the cash payout is slower than what we budgeted and put on the calendar. So that's what we're talking about. But one of the things that I'm incredibly proud of is that we have done a stunning job of not having cost overruns and having projects come in on budget. And so if we have two evils out there, I'm much more concerned about the evil of having a project come in over budget, or we're short on the funds and it's Coastside saying, we scheduled that money for next year, we're going to have to pause the project to wait for that. And so I understand that we're making sure that we're preloading the budget a little prematurely versus what it goes out. But I'm really proud that how our obligations are very well met in that we've said this is a $10 million project. We've established how we'll have that $10 million. And that means the infrastructure financially is there to push that project forward. And if there was to be a failing, I would want us to overplan and over budget prematurely. In other words, if it's a choice between, oh, we need to come up with $3 million and we're going to have to increase our rates. And one of the things that this reflects, our process has allowed us to really strive to hold our rate increases at less than double digits, right? So under 10%. But almost every single utility or big factor number that you just rattled off in the prior delivery was 15%. It was all those numbers were more than 10%. And so if we reflect the two and say, hey, our current process, we're managing to budget our water rate increases at under 10%, whereas the other increases that we're being hit with that impact us are in the 15% increase. I'm cautious to really, I don't want to upset the apple cart. I think the teams, I get it. We can tune it and I'm all for tuning it.
We're talking tuning, and there are two things here to think about. We talk about, and you guys are all aware of this. You've been here as long as, we've been here for a while, but in order to meet these kinds of objectives, when we model this, it's clear to us that if we do these kinds of things, these numbers, and the way we load it, do front loading, etc., that in order to keep double digits, going to double digits, we would have to go for debt. And we're planning on that too. We think that's going to happen. And I don't see Chris starting to look worried already, but there's no way not to go double digits if we don't do that. So that's the first thing to keep in mind.
Yep.
We do that 11 mil, it's going to be a bigger debt. If you get down below that, the debt won't be 10 million, it'll be 7. See, so we're trying to force this to keep it to one digit, single digit increase, but not to make the debt look like, a bomb.
Okay.
And that's exactly why we do this, not because we don't believe you.
Yep.
And I agree with you, we need our objectives, we need our goals, but we also got to keep that single digit without breaking the bank, at the bank, so to speak, to get more money. So that's why we're doing it. We respect what you've done. We believe everything here is important and everything needs to be done. We just look at reality and experience and say it ain't going to be easy to get that done no matter what we put down in the budget. So that's why we're asking for some tuning.
Bob, what you're bringing up really would be an interesting look at when we authorize a project. And I really like what we're doing. We say, hey, this is going to be a $10 million project. We budgeted 10 million and we know how we're going to pay for it. But perhaps if we look back over the last 10 years and look at how the money's gone out with what we forecast the money would go out, we could develop a little better tuning of that. Because I think that it is true that the general contractor says this is going to be a 24-month project. We're committed to have the money ready at the stages that it's delivered at. And we've got to be careful we don't dip into deviate from that.
I think the average over the last 10 years been around 6 mil if we're lucky. And so this is double that approximately. And so that's, it's sort of the computation in my mind. But I bet you if she does the numbers, it may even be less than that. But that's all I'm saying. And I'm
Yeah.
just trying to force the issue up front so that we have a little better sense of where we're going.
All right, John, please.
Yeah, I would definitely like to thank the committee and staff for putting this wonderful presentation together because we have to, our customers have to realize this district is a very vital source of life here. And you look at the state, county, and now city of Half Moon Bay budget issues. I think we are working very hard to do the best possible job to do as a district to continue to be able to supply good, safe drinking water to our customers. And we're not just going out and buying fancy cars or trucks or whatever. We're doing the right thing for our customers, and it's trickling down everything you look, and then the federal government's gonna just keep making money for it. Hopefully they'll divvy some out for us. I see the city just got another $2.9 million grant
Wow.
this week.
Good.
Yeah.
I wanna make one comment to what Glenn said, if I may. I hope you understand that there's a balancing act in our committee because that's the Feldman factor. And I'm way on the other end because my theory is get the money, be ready to pay. Contractors love to get paid promptly. I'm 100% on it. In fact, last time we borrowed money at 3% or whatever it was, I wanted to borrow more. And I wish like heck that we had, because now the money's gonna be a lot more than that. Interest rates have gone up. But we also want to be careful that we're not just getting money to lay around in a bank or an investment account. Because isn't that called arbitrage? Isn't there some really cool word for that? And we're not supposed to make money by stuffing money in a bank. But I really truthfully believe that what's changed in our projects right now is most of them are much closer in terms of permitting. And it's the permitting issue for me that is the clutch. Because, you know, we can get in position to do it, we can get the contractors, we can get all the things ready to go. But if you don't have permission, then you're stuck. So it's a really good balance. And, you know, now it's 4 people in the committee as opposed to, as the assistant general manager comes in and gives support to our general manager. And I think the balance is good.
I think as you're speaking, Dr. Coverdell, once in a while, I try to think of this thing, it doesn't cost, it pays in the end.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let me get a couple words in here. I'm probably gonna be the dissenter here. But no, thank you for the prior presentation in that I do see our debt service, and I really want everyone to be acutely aware of what our debt service is. It's better than 10% of our budget. So I'm really concerned about increasing that. And it's just, you know, at some point, we're all gonna retire, and I've said this before, but for those new in the audience, treated water discount, I think that's gonna be part of my legacy. I think the El Granado pipeline is gonna be part of my legacy. The emergency repair on Carter Hill is gonna be part of my legacy. I will not let debt be a part of my legacy. I will not walk away from this board, leaving this community in deeper debt than they need be. That will never be part of my legacy.
We're working to, I mean, again, I'm working toward your end. There's no way we won't have some debt,
Correct.
additional debt. I'm working toward your end, which is to reduce the amount of additional debt if we can, as we move forward, looking at the model and see what it means to do this. Without debt, gets to be double digits. And we talk about 15%, we talk about 10, 15.
And they're gonna hit us again.
PGE, everybody's raising everything like crazy. I don't want my legacy to be that I have taken this community and raise their debt to some point that I don't think is acceptable. I don't have to join the rest of the guys and have double-digit increases. I want to make sure we keep it in the single-digit range if we can and take the debt we need to do that and keep our community whole. They already have enough pain. I don't want to give them any more pain.
Well, I would like to
if
know
I
what
can
the
avoid it.
industry standard for debt to budget is.
Sure.
There's gotta be, you know,
No, I don't think.
There's gotta be an
10% 's out of
industry
line. No. 10%
acceptable.
not out of line, not at all. And I think, look, the people that pay for the things that we're gonna do in 10 or 15 years will pay it better if there's debt. And there's money that's been brought in and they pay it over time. Not only the people that now live here have to pay that through the rate increases. That's the point. We're doing stuff in this budget that goes out 10 years. And somebody else has to pay for that, the people that are here in 10 years, not the people here today. And that's the only way you can even it out.
I've never subscribed to that argument and I'm not gonna start. to.
Okay, well, that's where, that's another way of looking
That's
at
fine.
things.
But one thing to really
I
consider
agree.
is where the discussion started and moved toward debt is when the idea was for us to finance that plan might be a 20% increase in water rates. So you want to have a legacy of 20% rate increase?
Well, here's the
One year.
problem.
I'm gonna tell you that
I mean, and Ken,
Yeah, you haven't seen the model, neither would you.
You've admitted to this too. And there was a time, 20, 30 years ago, that infrastructure was relatively new. Everybody wanted to be universally loved in the community. And they didn't do the heavy lifting by properly raising rates with inflation. And I will still go back and say it's inflation +2 at a minimum to stay current. And there were some good old, were great times around here where this board didn't have the balls to raise rates the way they properly should have been, and we wouldn't be in this situation that we're in today. And we can go back and look at the rate increases, and my point will be proven.
Well, we have raised rates
let
over the
me,
last 10
let me
years.
suggest that
Absolutely.
we've been in the last 10 years
Yes, absolutely.
in multiple conversations where we talked about, let's go to 7. Oh, we can't go to 7, we're gonna hold it at 5.
No, I
So
know,
that's
coming back to bite us.
but I'm just trying to say that it isn't a historical hiccup. It's a process that we've gone through for a long time. And, you have to understand, I was never an advocate of anything other than pay as you go. We paid for Crystal Springs on
Yeah, and
cash.
I'm still,
I think it's wonderful.
I'm a card carrying member of that.
Well, okay, but here's what I think. Let's negotiate for a way to sell the balance of our connections at a reasonable price. Let's sell the place we're sitting in and move up to newness. Or let's take some of our assets and turn them into cash and pay for stuff.
Well,
I mean, there's lots of things that we don't talk about or do, but I'm telling you that there's gonna be a loan of some amount of money. So I get into that.
I think it should-
In my
think
mind.
about that.
It's not gonna be this, 7 or 8 or 10 million that some people are envisioning.
Well,
I'm gonna tell you that the numbers, we're gonna see them really carefully. Here's the good news. All the excitement that we've had about budget, we don't really have to make a final decision
Yeah,
until
no.
October.
right.
And nothing's gonna happen, rate increase or
Until you see a lot
borrowing
more.
until next January.
Right.
So the thing that I love the most is we're already at fever tempo and
No, we're talking about we're talking about things that we have to need to talk about. But
Gotta be realistic.
there's a lot more stuff gonna happen before then. We're gonna have the study by the consultant. We're gonna have model developed. We're gonna look at numbers and we're gonna be able to decide how best we want to pursue this, with some debt and with some rate increase. However,
But I do
we
recognize
need
I'm in the
to
middle.
at least think about tuning
All right, let's.
tuning the capital budget a little bit. Really, that's the moral of the story. Can we look at that number and see if there's any other way to look at the number?
I don't think you're anywhere near a minority. I think that you voicing this opinion is the reason that the board functions so well. Because we listen to each other and we try to come up with a way for all of us to agree.
You're the one who brought up
We
the
like-
11 mil,
We
remember?
do like to be.
You brought up the 11 mil, I didn't.
Yeah, you put it right in front of me. You put it right in front of me. You tempted me with it.
The good news is we're planning 10 years out and we're being really good with our budgeting and
Our expenses.
we're exploring all the options. And every single member of this board wants to protect the community
Right.
and have as smooth a organization as we can.
Right.
And so I'm pretty excited and I think that,
There's another way to look at it.
yeah, I mean, it could be way worse.
I don't know, Mary, did you get those instructions? I'm not.
Yeah, clear direction.
Clear as mud.
I think the direction is we beat this horse and
And we're
enough
always,
tonight.
we're
Yep.
always willing to accept money in the form of helping the water district from private
We need a
citizens. So
GoFundMe.
wealthy people are, more than welcome to send money to help buy.
Coastside County
We
GoFundMe.
can accept. that.
All right, well, here we're coincidentally, we're gonna be on update 31 here, so maybe the Felton factor does come into play here.
Well, if I may just add a little bit here, you have to be looking at the unexpected. Like in 2021 with the drought. It's like agriculture. If you don't have a crop or a product to sell, you're not gonna have any income. So you have to be prepared as you work at the unexpected. We had to have
I think
something to sell.
We've covered, I mean, this is good. We
Yeah.
talked about all the processes, all the facets which we will be talking to further later. And this is nothing personal or about the staff or what they can achieve or can achieve. We're just trying to say what's real and what we've experienced so that everybody's aware that these are things to be considered. Is that fair?
Good
Yeah.
job. Yeah, good job.
And I would like to echo what John said, to thank the financial
Oh,
committee
absolutely.
for working on this. And I really appreciate the time you guys put into it. And I thank you very much for that.
I'm glad it's there.
It's a,
Yeah, better than us.
it's a pleasure to manage anything well and to make sure it's properly financed. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Because people don't like to do that
Yeah.
job, and that's fine. It's such a wonderful experience
Oh, yeah.
because we've got highly trained people, highly experienced people. It's nice. And we don't have to come in and make it up. We do get to make comments.
Okay,
We want to cut into James.
Yeah, James.
Movie.
Let's,
Yeah.
Okay,
Roll the film.
so is it May or June?
No, it's July now.
No, I hear May or June.
You guys are getting ahead of me. Get the slides ready. Update number 31. We are in the last filter, I'm happy to say. Filter 2 is still in the midst of its commissioning period before we get permission from DDW to put it online as long as we want. Filter 1 is, I believe it's getting coated this week. There's some delays due to all the rain coming in off the sidewalks and the filter and whatnot. But they did build a pretty elaborate tent that I'll show you some pictures of in a little bit. So we are finishing up filter 1 and they are in the clear well blasting. Happy to report that the interior of the clear well is in better shape than we thought it would be. We haven't been in there in a long time. There are lots of cracks. So we got a certain budget for crack sealing, but we're not gonna walk away from a crack and not seal it in the basement.
And are they just normal movement or is talk to us a little. This is a big piece of civil engineering and how much is it cracking? Is it normal?
Yeah, I'm not a structural engineer, but we've noticed that certain filters of certain vintage had more cracks than others. And that, settling of the whole plant,
Yeah,
there's some cracks at the bottom of a couple of filters. I don't know how you even come up with estimated cracks based on age. There's gotta be some sort of multiplier for it. And I think in the corner of the clear well, Loma Prieta did a little bit of damage that never started leaking water. But there's some calcification there, so the structural engineer Crystal from HDR has been out to look at all those before we decide what we're doing about the cracks.
yeah. Okay.
And she's very competent. She knows what she's doing, so I'm happy to report that. So I'm gonna get away from the report here, and why don't you just go to the photos if you don't mind.
We love photos.
essentially, we're gonna finish up filter one, we'll go into commissioning, and then we're gonna finish the clear well. And then HDR is almost gonna be done probably around June, early June, I guess. I wanted to be done earlier, but I want everything done right, as you guys do as well. So on the top left picture here, that's assembling some scaffolding for the blasting and painting. This is a nozzle inside the clear well that will be, I believe that feeds the backwash pumps. That one's gonna get blasted and painted. It's in pretty good shape. This looks a little funky. The next picture, third one from the left on the top, this is the bottom of filter number one, before they pour the grout floor that levels out the whole entire floor. So this has been blasted and grinded and chipped, so it's a perfect square, and it can accommodate the new grout. And these are the tie downs for these pegs here are essentially what the clips that hold down the new under drain that has the air scour and the backwash functioning to it, as well as filtration. Top right corner, this is what the filter looks like as they're in there blasting and cleaning. Gives you an idea of the depth and scale of the work there. Lower left-hand corner, that's looking out to the sky from the bottom of the filter. Second one from the left on the bottom, this is the inside of the clear well. We've never had this empty in the whole history of the district. So we're really glad to get in there and clean it, get it coated, and have it last another 50 years. Third one from the left on the bottom. This is some modification to the routing of finished water from the filters. This was very tricky, and the superintendent with Ranger did a great job of figuring out the least expensive way to do this. So these are some custom fittings, and this allows us to send settled water to our bypass tanks, which are essentially two 20,000 gallon Denbest tanks that were clean and certified for potable water. That's our substitute clear well, which is 40,000 gallons. So this is essentially the water going in and out rerouted, rather than doing a bunch of expensive plumbing that we almost thought we were gonna have to do. So Ranger saved us quite a bit of money on coming up with their engineered idea on that. And when you guys come up to the plant, see the bypass, it's pretty impressive. They did a really good job on that. Fourth picture from the left, this is the scaffolding for the blasting operation before they paint, and the scaffolding that they stand on when they're coating. And this is the overflow that feeds the tanks. I believe this is what feeds the tanks, or this might be where the water comes into the clear well. I'm not sure what corner that's in. This actually might be the finished water that's coming into the clear well before it pours over in a box down to the tanks. So even the ladder inside of the clear well, we thought we were gonna have to replace it. Ranger's like, you don't need to replace this. So we had HDR take a look at it. We're gonna blast it. We're gonna coat it. We're not even gonna do it. So we had some surprises in there in terms of things being in better shape than we thought. So it's probably gonna be May, June before we're done. I've been wanting to get done earlier, but it's looking more like June. So
I'm not gonna hear July.
I'd get some fireworks.
I was thinking champagne and black or something, but that's up to you guys.
Oh, plaque with my name on it. I'm on it. John?
Yeah, I think, Dave, this is a perfect timing after what we were just discussing with budget. And you just let us all know that this could go on for the next 50 years investment. It's not gonna end over 1 year. So valuable to our customer base to continue to show the investment we're making to ensure that we'll continue to have safe drinking water on the coastside. I mean, this is so important, and that's why we're going through the budget issues too, because nothing comes from nothing. You have to invest, do the right things, which the finance committee is presenting to us tonight. And now this is just spectacular. We're so fortunate that this district moved forward on this a few years ago to do the right thing for all of us.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments. And a reminder, this is an $8.5 million project, which that was more than the Denniston project, right? Things are getting more expensive, and we're getting to the point where infrastructure is going to need more influx of cash. It's been a really successful, complex job for us, even the engineering. The tank project is expected to be 10 million. That's going to be the biggest project that we've ever taken on. So things are getting more expensive, and we're taking on the tough projects like Nunes. Has not been an easy project to even scope out. there's so many different things that had to be fixed. So we appreciate your support in getting that done.
And if I may say, so, staff has done a wonderful job, in managing and, all the issues at the treatment plant. I mean, it's, you know, and it's been tough, but you know, I hear some of the complaints, or not necessarily complaints, but concerns, or just the
Comments.
I'll say comments, yeah, they're really comments, but it's, you know, it really has taken away from just day-to-day operations that you know, their jobs have been being there to talk to the construction workers and, you know, and to watch them, to understand what's going on. And to come up with solutions to problems that have popped up that weren't envisioned.
Yeah, staff's done great. And as the sandblasting has gotten closer to the control room, it's pretty fatiguing on them. So they try to close the doors and reduce the noise, but the clear well and filter one being worked on right there. It's been hard on them, and they've been really to task with lots of questions.
As I remember, there was a good deal of delay that was caused by the supplier
Right.
chain not having stuff available after the pandemic. I mean, there was a massive delay in most supplies in most large programs. So that kind of delay is not something you can even plan for because of the situation. So I think at the end of the day, with everything being considered, the budget's been pretty well right on the money. The number of days left is, and the funding remaining is what needs to be finished and done, and hopefully June will be the timeframe. And so, you know, as you say, there's been no delay that's been caused by things that weren't out of our control. So it's been,
Including money.
right.
Or pay the
Well-
contractor, right?
They're sitting on $7 million earning all that interest. So there's no shortage of money.
I think they put it all in the project.
Buy a lottery
They
ticket.
put a lot of effort up
The
there.
remaining value was 293 and 293K yet to be paid, but we have 5% withhold interest as well.
I think we're at 2.5% at this point in the project. Correct me if we're wrong.
Yes, but actually, we put it in an account.
An escrow account.
Is there retention
escrow
money?
account. Yeah,
No, the retention went from 10 to 5, or was it 5 to 2?
It says 5% here on this.
that's probably, yeah.
Yeah, so I think
200K
It's
has
in
been retained in addition to the 200 still yet to be spent. So there's about 600 and 700K.
I think in the beginning of the project, there was a 10% reduction, and then
Okay,
towards
fine,
a
but-
certain
Yeah, so.
point of completion. they get
Hold their feet to the fire. I mean, it's not like you let anything, you know, slip by us. All that's been well done.
Okay, keep the timelines tight. We don't want to hear
I
July.
want to have a big party in June, you know, big party.
Willing.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Might just stay up there because mine's getting really short.
Oh, okay.
I just want to buy a rotor tiller.
Sorry, I just gotta.
Okay, we'll go to 7, 8, and you're saying 8?
Yeah.
I just gotta get to my report real quick.
Okay.
This isn't ready.
Mary, you're gonna take this one?
Yeah. Yeah, so as Director Coverdell reported, we're in good shape with the snowpack, but on March 1st of every year, SFPC is required to give us an update on the water supply availability. And at this point, they feel that they can make the commitment that they will be able to meet full customer demand in this water use.
Surprise.
Good news. Thank you, Mary.
That's the best.
Oh, and what, you know, what's the rain amount for March? I wanted to add it in.
So far?
5 in, for March,
Yeah, just March, just so I can add,
So far.
I'd have to look on my phone.
Well, we
5.
got a half inch last night and then we had
That's storm.
2 inches last week.
yeah, so we could
I
add,
shot
5
last
inches.
night a half inch.
we could add two or 3, so we're probably to 18, about 18 now.
19, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, so that's a
I thought the first. storm
good
was pretty
water
big.
year.
It was more. Yeah,
All right.
Basic, ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so That was short and sweet, so we're back to you.
Wow, already, okay. Operations, report, monthly highlights, Pillars wells pumped an average of 300 gallons per minute in February. Not as much as we had hoped, but there just wasn't the resource there to capitalize, so we actually had to kind of turn some wells on and off based on the amount of water in the creek. These guys do a really good job of squeezing every drop out of that source because they know it helps pay the bills. Senior distribution operator Dustin Johns passes T3, which is a big accomplishment.
It's a hard exam.
T3 is a hard test.
Yeah.
It's hard to even qualify to get a T3.
Yeah.
You have to have many hours in the treatment plant. So Dustin, being part-time distribution treatment, he's had to, I think he passed his T3 and they wouldn't give it to him because they had enough hours. So it's taken him almost 10 years to get enough treatment hours to qualify for the T3. So it's a major accomplishment. Really proud of him, and he knocked the test out twice.
Great.
So I knew you guys would like that. So,
Yep.
And it's always good to have more T3 operators around so they can kind of speak.
Yeah, how many do we have now?
Oh, T3 and above, we probably have 5 or 6, I believe. I'd have to count.
There was a time we had 0 and we operated on heaters.
That happens to agencies sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
so,
Wentz had to hang his license places before.
yeah, so that, I mean, it really just goes to show what a great district we have here.
Yeah, good job on keeping the team moving in that direction.
Yeah, no,
I'm very proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of their
Well,
bravery.
Do tell the team that they have our support in their education and their pursuit of this, and we recognize and acknowledge the effort they've done and honor that.
Certainly, I'll do that.
Do we have their certificates up on the wall here for the public to?
Well.
Okay.
In the hallway if you want to.
Great.
Gander at.
No, I just meant as
Impressive.
a pride thing that, you know, this is not a certificate to have put away in a drawer. This
Right.
is to have on the wall.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll be impressed when you look at the
Great.
level of license
Thank
you
you.
have here. Thank you. I'll make sure they know. February sources, Pillarcitos Lake and the wells. Crystal Springs has been sitting quiet and idle, waiting for us to turn it on. So, and we do we go there, we check on it. We don't let it get full of cobwebs. So it's ready to go when we need it.
Doesn't PG&E want the revenue?
They do, but we usually have to fire it up for one of our customers. So it all pays for itself. But yes, they do. They do. We just talked about the Nunes project. No need to talk about that. Medium Magellan project's supposed to start next week. I'll make sure I get a schedule on the polling so you guys can come out and capture one of the polling events, either the media or the Magellan.
Yeah, we'd like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a neat project and neat product to see in action.
Is that something that would be worthy of doing a little time lapse photo or video to put on our website so we could?
Possibly.
I'd love to have, when we do something cool that's innovative and saving the district. I mean, I don't remember the numbers, but this saves the district. It was $1 million, wasn't it, Mary?
Over,
And
yes.
so it'd be really nice to put this on for folks and say, here's how we saved you $1 million.
Sure.
Was it more than $1 million?
Yeah, it was more than 1 million, because you're gonna have to go, by a distance.
Yeah.
To
So
bypass.
I think that's really cool. And I think that the public, you know, in the past, when we've done that outreach, they've been really excited.
Good.
And so, and it's probably easier to do it that way than have a crowd out there.
Right.
With $25 fees.
Right. No, I think that's great. And I just want to also remind everyone, I think I mentioned this, but I can't mention it enough. When we sent Darren and another staff member to the ACE conference, he was tasked to find a pipeliner.
Yeah,
And he came back with one. I didn't think he would
yeah,
because of the pressure ratings that
right.
the typical liners have. So we sent him to a conference. Cost us a few grand. We're gonna save $1 million from saving it to them. And it's good for morale for them to interact with other operations staff. So we appreciate you guys supporting her.
Yeah, no,
Or,
you're returning that investment many folds. So we're happy to keep investing. We're proud of the job you're doing.
Cool, thank you, and more do you have here?
I'll speed it up. Myrtle is halfway done. We'll be done in mid next month. And that is the valve replacement project over at Myrtle and Second. Mary's talked about 92. And the Half Moon Bay Tank project, we got our CDP exemptions from the city. for accomplishment. We really appreciate all of the city's help with us getting to this point. And we're working on San Vicente with Stetson.
Yeah, that was definitely the highlight, probably, besides our lively discussion. Earlier was the CDP exemption from our partner, the city of Half Moon Bay. That could have really. It could have kicked up the Feldman factor a little bit.
Yes.
Or it could have kicked it up a lot. So there are a lot of variables under which this district operates, and that was a potentially huge one. So thank you for shepherding that through, through the city. It really, really means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go into a closed session, but prior to that, Director, agenda items, requests for future board meetings? Seeing none, hearing none. I can adjourn the regular meeting.
Okay.
Go into closed.
Sure. Now it's 8:11 and we're going to go into closed session. California Government Code Section 54956.9 subsection G2. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, certificate exposure to litigation, 2 potential cases. Now to the end of closed session.
Recording stopped.
See you later.